everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about beauty buzzwords. What exactly are beauty buzzwords, you ask? Well, these are the terms that we creators use in a lot of our videos. Well, we beauty creators, we use these terms in our videos a lot, and we just assume that the viewer, all of you listening, you know what these words mean. And I have been told over and over again that no, not all of you watching know what these words mean. You'll say to me, Risa, what exactly is a transition color? What does baking mean? Especially in my viewer demographic, which does skew a little bit older, a lot of my viewers are actually just now getting into makeup. Maybe they spent a lot of years just raising children and putting themselves second or third behind their husband and kids. And now they want to experiment, they want to play with makeup. So they're looking to YouTube for, how to do their makeup, for product recommendations and all of that. But it can get very overwhelming. It can get very confusing. So especially when it comes to the terminology used. So I'm going to break it down for you. I'm not going to cover every buzzword. I think these are just the ones that I hear the most, that I get asked about the most. So if you're interested in hearing like some just really non-confusing, non-scientific, easy explanations of what these words mean, then please keep on watching. All right, let's start with the word you probably hear the most in the beauty community, baking. Now, for most people, baking refers to brownies, cookies, a cake, muffins. It doesn't have anything to do with putting powder on your face, except it does. In the beauty world, baking has become very, very popular. And what that means is when you apply a lot of loose powder to different areas of the face. What baking is doing is it's setting your concealer or your highlight and playing with light and dark. Dark colors make things recede, light colors bring them forward. And when it's put up, when a light product is put up against something dark, it kind of shifts the effect. It can make your nose look slimmer if you darken this area and then powder with a lighter shade around this area. It's gonna really slim the nose. So baking is used to play with light, and it's also used to set product. Now, for those of us that might have a little bit more mature skin, baking is not really the best thing for us. I don't usually bake in any of my tutorials because all of that powder can definitely emphasize dryness. It can emphasize flaky skin. It can emphasize fine lines. So I tend to just use a brightening pressed powder under my eyes versus using like really, really large amounts of powder that you see in most baking procedures. I don't think that's the right word, but when you see baking, you usually see a lot of powder, and that's just not typically the best thing for those with mature skin. Next up is transition color. What exactly is a transition color? Well, when you're doing your eye makeup, you obviously want it to look like a gradient if you're using more than one color. And a lot of people don't have perfectly almond-shaped eyes with a perfect crease. Some people do, but most of us aren't that lucky. So once again, we're playing with light and dark. I have very hooded eyes, so I want to look like I have more of a crease. So I will put a color right into my crease that's kind of like a mid-tone shade. A transition color should be a light, depending on your skin tone, it should be somewhere between like a light taupe to maybe a light brown. Only because I just used this palette to film a tutorial and it happens to be right down here. I'm going to show you an example of a transition color using the Makeup Revolution Emily Edit the Wants palette. So hopefully you get the idea that it's just a mid-tone shade, and it depends on your skin tone. If your skin looks best in warmer tones, you could do like a light caramel brown. If your skin looks better in more cool tones, it could be a mid-tone gray. You just don't want it to be too dark, and you don't want it to be so light that it doesn't show up at all. You want it just to have a little bit of differential between your actual skin tone. You want to place it right into your crease, sometimes a little bit above the crease. And that shade is also going to help the other shades that you blend into it go on smoother. It's gonna improve the blendability of the other shadows if you're using more than one in a look. So that's what a transition shade means. It's a transition between whatever is on your lid to what you might have under your brow bone or to a darker color within your crease. It also can be used to blend out any darker color you might put in your crease. So it is a transition from light to dark and also helps your other eyeshadows to blend better. Moving on to BB creams and CC creams. We're going to start with BB creams. The term BB cream was first used over in Asia, and it was referring to a beauty balm. BB creams are usually lighter than a foundation, but have a little bit more coverage than, say, a tinted moisturizer. Usually a BB cream has some added skincare benefits. Maybe it's antioxidants, maybe it is an SPF. There's usually something in the product that is going to give you some coverage and also, like I said, skincare benefits that over time, maybe you'll see some sort of improvement in your skin, or you're protecting your skin from environmental stressors and whatnot. So if you are looking for some coverage and some skincare benefits in one, that's usually what you will find in a BB cream. Now, a lot of people think there's some dramatic difference between a BB cream and a CC cream, and there really isn't. CC cream stands for color correcting. Now, a BB cream can also be color correcting because they do usually offer some level of coverage. CC creams usually have a lighter, more whipped, fluffy feel on the skin than a BB cream. Most of the time, CC creams are marketed to address certain color issues like sallowness or redness, such as rosacea. Most people don't see much of a difference between a BB cream and a CC cream. So it's really important just to look at the ingredients and the claims and try it for yourself, just to see if does one feel lighter and better on the skin? Do you feel like you need more coverage? I always felt like I could never wear a CC cream because CC creams and BB creams are supposed to be very moisturizing. They're kind of not the best for an oily skin. But those of us with oily skin, sometimes we want a little bit lighter coverage than a foundation and those skincare benefits too, but we don't want to look super greasy. So thankfully in recent years, a lot of companies, well, some companies have come out with BB creams and CC creams that aren't quite as moisturizing. They have a little bit more coverage and they are a little bit better suited for someone who does get pretty oily. So that's the bottom line when it comes to CC creams and BB creams. Just look at the ingredients, look at the claims, try them for yourself and see if one or the other suits you. Moving on to cruelty-free. What exactly does that mean? Most companies, if you ask them, most of them will tell you that they are cruelty-free, except where required by law. Now, what that means is if a company sells their product in a market that requires animal testing, like China, they cannot call themselves truly cruelty-free because their products are being tested on animals in order to be sold in that market. There was a huge uproar against NARS Cosmetics about a year and a half to 2 years ago because they were not selling in the Chinese market. They were calling themselves completely cruelty-free, but then they decided to enter the Chinese market. While most companies are pulling out of the market because they don't want to not be cruelty-free, it was just really strange and upsetting, angering, is that even a word? It angered a lot of people that, including myself, that they just decided that it was better to be in a market that requires animal testing than to stand by what we thought were their principles. So it actually had me on a bit of a cruelty-free. I tried to go cruelty-free, I really did. I don't want to delve too much into the subject because it is so polarizing and I understand arguments from both sides, like where do you draw the line when it comes to being cruelty-free? In a perfect world, all companies would be cruelty-free. There would be no animal testing. China would not require it. I don't know if any other countries do, but there are so many better ways to test products than to harm animals. So that is what cruelty-free means. If you would like a website that really does keep you up to date on what brands are cruelty-free, they are Cruelty-free Kitty. There is, obviously you can look at the PETA website, but I have always looked to Cruelty-free Kitty. And there's another really good one. I can't think of the name right now, but I will list it in the description. Natural and organic. What exactly does that mean? Now, I've had to do some research on this myself because I've been confused too. And basically, I'm gonna look at my notes here. Unless a product is 100% a type of oil, like almond, coconut, vitamin E, or olive, or of one ingredient like shea butter, it likely contains some synthetic ingredients. Now, of course, there are some amazing natural ingredients that can be used in cosmetics and skincare, but a lot of those will go bad very quickly. So they need to have some sort of synthetic preservative or ingredients within them, or they would smell horrible and go rotten very, very quickly. And not all synthetic ingredients are harmful to your skin. Some of them are actually good for your skin, but they're not 100% natural. Most clean beauty products are made without parabens, synthetic fragrances, sulfates. So you want to look for products without those ingredients if you want truly clean makeup. So looking at the ingredients is paramount to anything else. Don't just always automatically believe claims. Delve a little bit deeper into the ingredients. So is clean beauty just a fad or a trend? Some might say that it is, but I think a lot of people are just, every year we are becoming a more and more health conscious society, or I like to believe that we are. And Sephora now has an entire Clean by Sephora category if you are looking for products made without certain ingredients. And I do believe more and more companies are going to start going that route. But I will say this, a disclaimer from the FDA, that personal care products do remain one of the safest product categories and that are regulated by the FDA. At least that's here in the United States. Obviously, rules overseas and other countries are different. I am personally not one of those people that feels like I need to throw away everything that's not clean and organic and start over. But that is a personal decision, one that I would never push on somebody else. That is just up to an individual to determine what they feel comfortable putting on their skin or inside their body. Okay, I really think that covers most of the beauty buzzwords that a lot of you might have been confused by or wondered what they really mean. If you can think of any other buzzwords that I didn't talk about, please let me know. Maybe I will do another video if I have a large enough list. Let me know if you liked this type of video, if you'd want me to do more just back to basics type of videos. I am here to help you. I have been in this industry, the beauty industry, as a makeup artist for well over 20 years now. Oh, that makes me sound really old, but yeah, I have a lot of information, a lot of advice to give. So if you aren't already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss when a video gets uploaded. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Everything is Risa Does Makeup. Please give the video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and I look forward to seeing you all in my next video.